Did you have something to do with his death?
No.
We're past that point. This is called damage control. Okay? We know that you were involved. You shot him with the 22.
I didn't.
Yes, you did, right in the top of the head.
I didn't.
Okay.
On August 10th, 2023, Deborah Frazier grabbed her phone and called 911 from her apartment building in Zanesville, Ohio. Her voice shook as she told the dispatcher that something was wrong inside the apartment she shared with her boyfriend, 66-year-old Thomas Waddell. She said the front door was unlocked. She said things were thrown everywhere. She said she could not find Tom anywhere inside the home. The dispatcher quickly asked if she was still inside the apartment. Deborah whispered that she was trying to back out slowly because she thought someone was still inside. The dispatcher told her to leave the apartment immediately and stay on the phone. Deborah sounded terrified as she slowly walked backward toward the hallway. Then everything changed in seconds. A loud gunshot exploded through the call. Deborah suddenly screamed that she had been shot. She cried for help and told the dispatcher someone inside the apartment had fired at her.
Are you inside the apartment? I need you to back out of the apartment if you are. Come back out of the apartment if you're in there. Okay. All right. Come on back out of the apartment. Are you in the hallway now?
I'm trying to quietly get there. I don't know if someone's still in here.
Okay. I'm going to stay on the phone with you, but I need you to back out of that apartment right now.
Oh no. I see someone.
Are you out? Did you? All units, I have an active home invasion. 3231 Sandhurst Drive, 3231 Sandhurst Drive.
Oh,
Active home invasion.
Oh my God, I'm shot.
Okay. Ma'am, what? He's what?
I've been shot.
Okay. You have or he has?
I have. I haven't even been able to find him yet.
Okay. Did you get shot?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ma'am, who shot you?
Someone in a mask. I don't know. I don't want to pay right now.
Units, I have shots fired. Shots fired. One person shot.
Police rushed to the address while the dispatcher tried to keep Deborah talking. At first, the call sounded like a violent home invasion. It sounded like masked robbers had attacked a couple inside their own home. But when officers arrived, almost nothing inside that apartment made sense. Police officers reached the apartment building within minutes after the 911 call. They found Deborah Frazier lying near the front doorway with blood running down her leg. She cried in pain and told officers that two masked white men had just come out of the apartment and shot her before escaping. A .22 caliber revolver rested on the floor beside her body. Officers quickly placed a tourniquet on her leg before paramedics rushed her to the hospital. Inside the apartment, officers expected to find signs of a violent robbery. Instead, they walked into something that felt staged. Furniture had been moved around. Drawers were left hanging open. Belongings were scattered across rooms. But the mess looked shallow. Expensive items still sat untouched inside the apartment. Cash remained inside drawers. Tom Waddell's gun collection was still there, including more than 20 firearms that nobody had stolen. Detectives immediately questioned why armed robbers would leave behind money and weapons during a home invasion. As officers cleared the apartment room by room, they made a horrifying discovery inside the bedroom closet. Thomas Waddell's body had been wrapped in black trash bags, duct tape, and a comforter. His legs had been tightly secured. Parts of his body were covered carefully, almost as if someone wanted to hide him instead of simply leaving him at the scene. Officers noticed that the trash bags and tape used on the body had been neatly returned to their normal storage places after being used. That detail stood out immediately because real intruders rushing through a murder scene do not stop to organize supplies afterward. Detectives also found torn photographs of Deborah and Tom scattered around the apartment floor. Valentine's Day cards between the couple had been ripped apart as well. The apartment did not look like strangers searching for valuables. It looked personal. It looked emotional. It looked like someone wanted to destroy every sign that Tom and Deborah had built a life together. The apartment itself looked clean and organized underneath the fake mess. Investigators found no signs of drug activity, forced robbery behavior, or anything usually connected to violent break-ins. Detectives began questioning whether the scene had been arranged to look worse than it really was. At the hospital, Deborah repeated her story again. She told detectives she had spent the day outside because she felt worried after Tom stopped answering her calls and texts. She claimed she later returned to the apartment, noticed the door unlocked, and found the inside destroyed. While speaking to the 911 dispatcher and backing toward the hallway, Deborah claimed two masked men suddenly appeared from the bedroom area. According to her story, one of them pulled out a gun and shot her in the leg before both men escaped. Detectives listened carefully, but the story immediately began breaking apart. Officers searched the entire neighborhood for witnesses. They checked nearby homes, parking lots, apartment entrances, and businesses. Detectives collected ring camera footage and security videos from everywhere around the area. They even recovered footage from city buses traveling nearby. Nobody saw masked men entering or leaving the apartment complex. No vehicle connected to the supposed attackers appeared anywhere on camera. The timeline also destroyed Deborah's version of events. Assistant Coroner Greg Jadwin believed Tom had already been dead for a significant amount of time when officers arrived. The body was transported exactly as found, so forensic pathologist Dr. Jeff Lee could study it carefully. The autopsy later showed Tom had died around 12 to 16 hours before Deborah placed the 911 call. He had been shot once in the back of the head with a .22 caliber firearm. The revolver beside Deborah matched the same caliber. That finding changed the entire case. If Deborah's story were true, two killers would have needed to murder Tom the night before, wrap his body in trash bags, hide him in the closet, remain inside the apartment unseen for almost half a day, then suddenly appear to shoot Deborah while escaping without appearing on a single camera. Detectives knew the story was impossible. More evidence inside the apartment raised even more suspicion. Blood found near Tom's recliner suggested he had been shot there first, before someone moved the body into the closet. Two Velcro straps attached to his body showed signs that somebody had dragged him through the apartment. Detectives believed the killer originally planned to remove Tom's body completely, but failed because moving him was too difficult alone. Investigators also noticed Deborah changed part of her story after hearing police planned to test her hands for gunshot residue. At first, she never mentioned touching the gun, but once detectives told her about the test, Deborah suddenly claimed she had grabbed the weapon after being shot. Detectives believed she changed her explanation because she worried forensic testing would expose her. As detectives searched Deborah's phone, the case against her became even stronger. Within 1 day of the murder, investigators uncovered deleted internet searches that deeply disturbed them. At 8:16 a.m. on August 10th, hours before the 911 call, Deborah searched online for how long gunshot residue stays on human skin. But that was not the only search. Detectives also found searches made in the days before the murder that appeared to show someone learning how to use a firearm. Deborah searched phrases like how to load a gun, how to load a revolver pistol, how to uncock the hammer on a revolver, what does .22 ammo look like, and how to know what ammo your gun uses. One search stood out above all the others. On August 9th, the night Tom died, Deborah searched, worst place to get hit in the head. To investigators, those searches looked like preparation. Her phone records created even more problems for her story. Deborah told detectives she had spent time with an old friend named John Anderson before returning home. But investigators quickly discovered John was secretly her boyfriend. Even more shocking, John had absolutely no idea Deborah lived with another man. Deborah told John she worked as a live-in caregiver for an elderly dementia patient. That patient was actually Thomas Waddell, the man she had been romantically involved with for years. John later told detectives Deborah contacted him the night before, the murder sounding emotional and upset. He picked her up near the apartment complex and spent hours driving around Muskingum County with her. They stopped at a gas station, drove to Blackhand Gorge, and later traveled toward Dresden. John told investigators Deborah acted strange during the drive and repeatedly wandered off alone, claiming she needed to speak with a counselor. Phone tracking later confirmed much of John's story. FBI Special Agent Brian Lacey mapped the movements of Deborah's phone, John's phone, and Tom's phone throughout the night. The data showed Deborah and John driving around together exactly where John described. Tom's phone stopped moving completely during the period investigators believed he was murdered. Detectives also discovered Deborah involved John in a strange fake banking story before the murder. Deborah asked him to leave a voicemail pretending to be a worker from PNC Bank, investigating fraud connected to Tom's account. John later handed detectives the messages Deborah sent him, explaining exactly what to say. Financial records soon revealed why Deborah may have created the fake fraud story. Investigators discovered Tom and Deborah shared a PNC bank account that had nearly been drained. Detectives also uncovered a fake email account Deborah secretly created called pncfraudulentclaims@gmail.com. Authorities believed she used the account to send fake fraud investigation messages to herself while pretending a bank investigation was happening around Tom's missing money. Deleted searches on her phone showed she had also searched for PNC logos and information about bank fraud investigations. As investigators dug deeper into Deborah's past, they uncovered another shocking incident only weeks before Tom's murder. In June 2023, Deborah called 911 from Dillon State Park, claiming a man wearing a hoodie attacked her near the water. She said the stranger grabbed her, threw her down, and tried to assault her. She arrived at the hospital with scratches and small injuries. At the time, police believed she survived a terrifying attack. But after Tom's murder, detectives reopened the old case and quickly found major problems inside Deborah's story. Deborah claimed she went to the park to meet a counselor named Vivian from the BetterHelp therapy app. Detectives traced the messages connected to Vivian and discovered the counselor never existed at all. Deborah had created a fake phone number and spent weeks texting herself while pretending to speak with the counselor. She also lied about taking an Uber to the park because investigators found no ride records anywhere. Detectives then learned this was not even the first fake attack connected to Deborah. Police discovered she made another false attack claim years earlier in 2014. The deeper investigators looked into Deborah's life, the more they saw a pattern. She repeatedly created dramatic stories where she appeared helpless, injured, or attacked while hiding the truth underneath. More forensic evidence pushed the murder case even further toward Deborah. Her DNA appeared on the trash bags and duct tape wrapped around Tom's body. Her hair became trapped inside the tape near Tom's feet. The Velcro straps used to drag his body also contained only Deborah's DNA. One discovery especially shocked detectives. Near the apartment doorway sat a zipped backpack. Inside was a single glove. Detectives tested the glove and found Deborah's DNA on it. The glove also tested positive for gunshot residue, since the glove had already been sealed inside the backpack before Deborah shot herself on August 10th. Investigators believed the residue came from the murder itself. By that point, detectives no longer questioned whether Deborah committed the crime. The only remaining question was whether anyone helped her. But the forensic evidence kept pointing toward one answer. Deborah acted alone. During the investigation, detectives found one clue that briefly confused everyone working the case. Crime scene workers lifted a fingerprint from a television inside the apartment bedroom. The print belonged to a man named David Grantham, a Florida man with theft charges connected to his past. At first, detectives wondered if David could be one of the masked intruders Deborah described during her interviews. Then the police discovered something impossible. David Grantham had already been dead for more than 2 years. He died from a drug overdose back in 2021. The discovery shocked investigators because Deborah personally knew him. She once lived with him in Florida and was the person who found his body after the overdose happened. When she later moved to Ohio, she brought the television with her, along with David's old fingerprint still sitting on the screen. The clue looked important in the beginning, but it only led detectives back to Deborah once again. Investigators also examined Deborah's injury closely. Doctors confirmed the gunshot wound hit her thigh without damaging major arteries or bones. Detectives started believing the wound may have been carefully planned to support the fake home invasion story without killing her. The revolver beside Deborah also matched the caliber used to kill Tom. Everything inside the apartment pointed back toward the same person standing at the center of the case. Friends and family members later told investigators that Tom trusted Deborah completely. He allowed her into every part of his life, his finances, his apartment, and his future plans. Detectives believed Deborah used that trust against him, while secretly building different lives with different people at the same time. By the end of the investigation, police no longer searched for masked intruders because they believed the killer never left the apartment at all. By September 2023, detectives believed they had destroyed every part of Deborah Frazier's story. The fake home invasion no longer made sense. The masked men never existed. Security cameras showed nobody entering or leaving the apartment. Her phone searches looked like planning. Her DNA covered the items wrapped around Thomas Waddell's body. Even the gunshot wound in her own leg now looked staged. Police arrested Deborah Frazier on September 7, 2023. She was charged with aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. Investigators believed she murdered Tom for financial reasons after draining the joint bank account they shared together. Detectives also believed she carefully built fake fraud stories to hide missing money from him before the murder happened. After her arrest, investigators continued digging through her lies. They uncovered more evidence, showing how deeply she manipulated people around her. Her second boyfriend, John Anderson, had unknowingly helped her fake the banking story because he believed Deborah was caring for a dementia patient. Detectives confirmed he had no role in the murder itself. Phone records, location data, and forensic evidence all pointed toward Deborah acting alone. As the case moved toward trial, prosecutors prepared to present the full story inside the courtroom. They planned to show the jury the disturbing internet searches found on Deborah's phone. They planned to show photos of the apartment, Tom's body hidden in the closet, the fake banking emails, and the evidence proving Deborah shot herself after killing Tom. Prosecutors also intended to show how Deborah staged false attacks in earlier years, including the fake park assault months before the murder. The investigation revealed how much planning went into the crime. Prosecutors said Deborah searched online for information about revolvers, ammunition, and gunshot residue before the murder. She also searched worst place to get hit in the head shortly before Tom was killed. To investigators, those searches showed preparation instead of panic. Court records later revealed what detectives believed happened inside the apartment. Prosecutors stated that Deborah stood behind Tom while he sat peacefully in his recliner on the evening of August 9, 2023. They said she raised his own .22 caliber pistol and fired one shot into the back of his head. After killing him, prosecutors believed she wrapped the body, tried moving it through the apartment, created fake robbery signs around the rooms, and later shot herself while calling 911 to make herself look like a victim. In March 2024, Deborah finally gave up the story she had tried to sell from the beginning. Instead of taking the case to trial, she pleaded guilty in court to murder with a firearm specification, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. The guilty plea meant prosecutors no longer needed to prove the case before a jury because Deborah officially accepted responsibility for killing Thomas Waddell. During court proceedings, prosecutors described the crime as cold, planned, and cruel. Assistant prosecuting attorney John Little said Deborah deserved a life sentence for what she did. He explained that the guilty plea removed the risks connected to a trial and spared Tom's family from reliving every disturbing detail in court. Judge Mark Flegel later sentenced Deborah Frazier to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 23 years. The sentence closed one of the most disturbing murder cases, Zanesville. Investigators had seen in years. Thomas Waddell spent years helping Deborah, trusting her, and building a future with her. Inside the apartment, police found shared cookbooks, cards, and photographs showing a real relationship. But behind that normal life, Deborah was secretly living different stories with different people while preparing the crime that would end Tom's life. In the end, the fake robbers, the panic on the 911 call, the fake fraud investigation, and the lies about being attacked all collapsed under evidence. Detectives believed Deborah spent months creating false stories to control the people around her, but the evidence inside the apartment told the truth long before she finally admitted it herself. What began as a terrifying home invasion call ended as a calculated murder case built on manipulation, greed, deception, and betrayal alone. Do you think Deborah planned the murder for weeks, or do you believe something happened that night that suddenly pushed everything over the edge? Let me know what you think in the comments.